and take this off the stage. Peace and greetings, peace and gratitude, beautiful people. Welcome to introducing the Podclass. You have tuned in to another edition of Introducing the Podclass. If you've been here a while, you just saw the intro, right? That was like the old intro. I'm gonna bring that back. I'm gonna change it up a little bit, but I'm gonna bring that back, okay? But that's in honor of my birthday, which is coming up, okay? That's what we're doing. I'm celebrating me today. But we're talking about a topic that is going to be very much aligned in what people may say I have right now, which is ego. So today's topic on introducing the podcast is ego versus essence. So we're going to get into that today. So I'm so excited that you are here. And as always, we want to remember that this show, what we are here to do is to, in this particular class, the intention for tonight is to recognize the difference between who we are and who we perform, right? Who we are and who we perform. And just so that we can be present to how we show up in spaces, okay? And we're going to look at ego and we're going to look at the essence of our being and really kind of like dissect how we evolve, okay? So get a better understanding of our ego and how we really step into the essence, okay, of who we are. All right, I like it like that. I like that. So we'll say that. So again, tonight's intention is to recognize the difference between who we are, and who we perform, or who we perform to be. Okay. So we're gonna do that, and let's start with a quote. Okay, let's start with a quote, and we're going to do our musical therapy. I don't have any announcements for today, except for the next week. We will not have a show. There will be no show next week because it is my birthday. It'll be my birthday next Wednesday, so we will not be having a podcast. Teacher will be out, okay, celebrating herself. And I'm going to give you guys a break. But you can feel free to join me in celebration. All right. That's what it's going to be. But all right. So this week's quote is, you don't have to become someone new. You just have to return to yourself. Okay. All right. And so we're going to really examine this. If you do have the book, make sure that you grab a copy of the book, because I will be using a diagram from the book tonight in the podcast. So again, you don't have to become someone new. You just have to return to yourself, and you will see how true that is right after we come back from this musical therapy break. I'm going to play Eternity by Lava. Okay, so this one is a good one, and it fits again. When I tell you that I cannot make these things up and God works, okay, I didn't know sometimes I know exactly what song I'm going to choose for the musical therapy moment. And sometimes I have no idea. Today was one of those days where I had no idea, because the topic is one where there are songs that say ego and they talk about ego. But that's not really what I wanted to do. And for some reason, and you'll see later, there's a quote. This song is the perfect representation for what we will be talking about today. So as always, there's always purpose in everything that we do, even our musical therapy moments. This musical therapy song is Eternity by Lava. Listen to the words, and then it will make sense as we start to apply it later on in this session. Okay, so with that being said, I love you guys. Enjoy the song. Peace out.
Sacrificing sleep for my dreams. Sailing across the atlas, this shit deeper than some streams. Everything ain't what it seems, and I'm reading in between. Translating frequencies from ethereal beings. I can walk through the streets and remain unseen. My protection on a beam. My direction, 7 seas. Cinematic tendencies, currencies, infinite. On some classic type shit. So consistent with the hits. Cosmic message on the lips. Clearly, heaven never miss. Crucial metamorphosis. I swear I died 1,000 times. But still I rise by the power of Most High. I heard legends never die, but we bound to the ground. That motherfucker heavy than 1,000 evil eyes. Getting stronger with my boundaries, cause my spirit is the prize. And my soul is as vibrant as the moon on summer nights. And my mind is a dive into all that's divine. Sacred scribe, watching Gemini rise. When I was born, I loved my mama womb so much that I was trying to hold on. I had problems with the breath, cause my spirit never left. I survived 1,000,000 threats, projections aimed at my neck, death sentence to my success, abuse of my innocence, transmuting the bullshit, speak life on my lineage, protecting women and kids, raising respectful men, honoring the land, keeping the sacred, infusing the planet with healing and presence, wisdom of ancients, pumping through my veins, scream my ancestors' names, we ain't here to play, coming for every fucking thing you ripped from my kin and them, multiply that shit by 10, can't quantify my existence. I am an uncompromised transmission in this holographic realm of those addicted to the gram. My heart chakra bleeds for those in need of connection. You magnetize all your blessings when you lead with intention and you lean into forgiveness and you see all you've been given and you amplify your mission with compassion for your lessons, giving grace to your versions that's in need of the healing, saving space for potential cause your growth has no ceilings. And now I'm building you up cause you are my reflection. I feel collective fear and pain, and I can't answer all those questions. But we all know the problem, and we cry for solutions. We didn't watch all our legends up and die for the truth. Strange fruit, tongue-tied for our lives by the noose. I will no longer be silenced, but those who deny our truth. Fulfilling the prophecy, feeling the potency of a black woman near her prime. What a joy it is to see. Every win for my sis is a W for me. Reflecting my inner light, is it W or me? No double cup, just tea. Pour libations up for me. When I bounce out this bitch at the altar, sing my name. Leave me raspberry leaf. Fill my cup up for me. Play my voice over the seas. Lava for eternity. Lava is eternity.
Shimim Hotep, Shimim Ra, Ashe. Uncle Jobs and Abe Synapti, Ashe. We give thanks for the verbal elixir and divine frequency of Lava God. Just know if you're hearing my voice, you are the new deity. You are the Neteru. You are the Orisha. You are the Vedic. You are the Mayan, Aztec. You are the Akan, the Dogon. All that is God is in you. So we lack nothing. Give thanks.
Peace. Welcome back to Introducing the Podclass. You just were listening to Eternity by Lava, and today's topic on our Podclass, today's subject matter in our overall arching theme for this season of self-mastery is ego versus essence. And you say, Crystal, what are you talking about? What is this? What are we talking about? We're going to get into it. Okay. I just want to remind you real quick, the intention for today, the intention for tonight is to recognize the difference between who we are and who we perform to be. Okay. So what is ego? We're going to start with that because that usually is the biggest misconception. If you can put in the chat what you think ego is. What's your definition of ego? How do you see ego? What's your what What do you see ego as? Okay. And I want to clarify and make this very clear what ego is. Because ego is not a bad thing. Ego is ego. And ego is your protective identity. It's a false identity in a sense, right? Almost. Because it's not your true self. It is the self that has learned how to survive here on planet Earth. It is the self that has learned to adapt to the circumstances, experiences, validations, fears that have happened. And they have learned to adapt into this role so that they can be comfortable. Protective identity. This is what the ego is, right? So it is focused on image and control. Ego wants to control the situation. So if we understand our ego, if we understand how our ego was raised, where our ego comes from, where our ego is almost like can be almost like an inner child in a sense. The ego is something that we have developed over time based on experiences, based on our need for validation, or the validation that we did get, what people told us who we were. People told us who we were. This is what our ego is shaped. This is how our ego is shaped. Fear, whatever you become, that you become the things that you are afraid of, right? Ego. So ego, understanding ego, it is not a bad thing. Ego is actually saying, hey, this is what it's been. I've had these experiences. This is what it is. It's kind of dangerous. I don't like it. This is what I'm going to do. That's ego. It wants to be able to control the situation, and we wants to be able to protect you at all times and in all ways from experiencing anything that caused it to want to be confined to this person that you have decided yourself to be. That is ego in the sense of what we are talking about. Can I get a thumbs up if that makes sense to you, if you're understanding, if that resonates with you, if that's the same your same understanding of what ego is? Because sometimes we talk about ego in the sense of, oh, they got a big ego. And that's what I was saying before the break with the musical therapy. Ego gets a bad rap. I've been guilty of giving ego a bad rap. But when we understand our personal egos and not judge others, when we understand our personal egos and not judge others, because the reality is we all have an ego. It just so if you understand your ego instead of judging others, then you understand ego better. Okay, so ego, this is what ego is. This is what we have established. So then what is essence then, Crystal? What are you talking about, smart video girl? What is essence? Essence is who you are at your authentic self. That is who you came in here to be. This is when you were born, when you entered into this realm, when you landed on planet Earth, however, whatever, say whatever. Whatever you believe, when you was birthed, you came in here divinely made. You were made. It was a plan. It was DNA. It was who you were was already written. Your authentic self. That is the essence of you. It is calm. It is grounded. Use intuition. It's all the things that are closest to your godlike self. It's not driven by it doesn't need validation. It ain't scared. What is scared of? Nothing. Why would you be scared? When everything is working in your favor, when you know that this is a journey of ups and downs, what would you be scared of? It's not driven by those things. The essence of you has no limitations in that way. The essence of you remembers and knows exactly who it is, versus ego, whose identity has been put upon them over time in remembrance. Essence was put upon you before you could remember. And so that is why it is your job to remember. And that's why ego versus essence is important, because we're not talking about being a better person. This is understanding how we get to the remembering. Because you can't go to the essence of who you are till you understand that it's your ego that is running your show. Okay? And not from a place of judgment, because we said that already, but from a place of observation. We're showing what's the intention is to be present to who we really are versus how we perform. Our ego is the performance. Our ego is in a box. That the ego has parameters as far as where it's going to go, because outside of that it's outside of its comfort zone or whatever the case may be. But the essence of you is free. There's freedom. Okay? So this is what we are looking at in this particular podcast when we talk about essence of you. Ego versus essence, okay? Now I want to bring up this diagram. Let me pop myself over here in the corner. So this is a diagram. It's actually in my book because it helps you understand kind of what I'm talking about here. Just in essence, at the top of the diagram, you see is the authentic self. That's your essence. And the lower self is your ego. And this diagram kind of encompasses a lot of the points that I talk about in the book. So if this looks confusing to you, you're like, what is this? Then get the book, because then it'll all make sense. But this is a process. I call this my journey of aligning with your authentic self. At the top, you know who you are. You remembered who you are. You knew who you were. Right? But then life happens. That's the to me, right? And then you get to the point where you want to make life happen. At that point, you are in full control of your ego. This is where ego gets that rap of being boisterous and all of the things, because you are really in the height of this to me state, where you think that you run everything, because the ego says, I am no longer going to be a victim of circumstance. I'm not going to be scared. I'm not going to do none of the things, but you still are. You're just aware that is how you've been operating. So ego takes hold of the situation so that it can protect you as it moves forward. So you feel like you're making life happen. That is what happens. And then when you get to that lowest point, when you understand, that's where the surrender. Y'all don't get me started. Surrender. You let go of the ego. You free your ego. You tell the ego you don't free the ego. You let go of the ego. That's what we're talking about. We heal the inner child. All of these things these are all common terms we're talking about. You don't have to make them difficult. They're not really separate, right? They're just ways of thinking about the same way of remembering who you are and reprogramming who you have been conditioned to be. So this diagram, check it out, is in the book. I'm not going to show you no more of that. So we're going to move on to this. So what's the tension here? What is happening here with the ego and the essence of who we are? What's happening here, so that we can look at this, so that we can understand this. We've kind of already examined it, but I want to really get us to be able to identify it now within ourselves, because it's self-mastery. Are we operating in ego? Have we started to remember and operate and walk at the essence of who we are? Okay. Ego reacts. I got a great example. Ego is they're gonna react. They're gonna just, that's ego. And you know what that tells you? You know what it told me? Let me tell you what it told me. What that tells me is when you're operating in that sense, you are in a space, you are in an environment, you are doing something that is not conducive for who you are, for your growth. It does something to you where you react, and you still got to work on that. So you might need to step away, reevaluate, understand where that reaction is coming from, right? So that you can respond better, so that you can walk in your essence and not respond or not move from a place of ego, but you can walk in essence instead of move from ego. Okay? Ego seeks validation. Ego wants you to tell you how good ego wants everybody to tell you how good you are. You need to hear from other people that you are it. That's ego, because ego doesn't believe it itself. That's the truth. At the deepest part of that is not that it's like, it may look like, oh yeah, you want that. That's because you don't believe it in yourself. Because if you believed it in yourself, you wouldn't need nobody else to tell you. Because essence seeks alignment. I walk in alignment because I know I don't need the validation from anyone as to who I am. That's crazy. How is anybody going to tell you who you are? But ego seeks to be validated in who it has been conditioned to be. So let that resonate for a minute. Ego seeks validation on how it has been conditioned to. Am I doing it right? Am I walking in step? Did I get the right boob job? Did I get the right BBL? Did I do it right? Because that's fear of missing out on something. Like, girl, be yourself. Boy, be you. Do you, boo. Validation is ego driven. It is to feel comfortable, to feel seen. And not always from a boisterous place. That's why we have to learn compassion. We give our ego a hard time. I know I gave ego a hard time. Everybody's ego. Mine's, yours, everybody's. Okay. Egos were dirt. Now, some of them are nasty and dirty, but everybody's isn't. And it's not ego. It is the essence. Listen, because sometimes it is the essence of the person to be that. So you do have to be, you have to be the one to know what it is that you are walking in. I'll just put it like that. All right. You know if the essence of you is nasty. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Not for me to judge. You know that though. All right. So that is what we're looking at. So in this particular podcast, and if you have any questions, if you think of anything that you want me to address about this, put it in the chat. But because it's about to be quiz time, okay? Just know that. But just a quick recap of what I'm saying, and I'm going to bring up a quote. And some of you may remember this quote if you attended the Smart Video Girl Making Visions Visible event back in January. The truth of your being is eternal. That is what this is about. This is saying that your ego has defined truth about you that is not true. It has defined you based on circumstance. It has defined you based on fears. It has defined you based on validation. It has defined you based on the good opinions of others. That's what ego has done. The truth is your being is eternal, and that is the essence of who you are. So there it is. I want us to remember that, and I want us to hold on to that. Where's your ego showing up? Where is your ego? Because think about it like this. Ego is in a box. Ego is like, we're not going over there. That's good. Again, inner child type of thing. Where are you being held back from being your truest self, to showing up as your most authentic self? Where are you not being your eternal truth? Okay, so let's get it together. We're going to get to this. Oh my God, we're going to take our quiz time. It is quiz time. Let's see what we got here. It says, ego seeks comfort, essence seeks growth or evolution of higher self. Absolutely. I love that. That's a good one. I'm going to have to add that one to the list. Comfort. Ego seeks comfort. Right. Ego says, I'm not doing that. I'm too good for that. No, boo-boo. You too comfortable for that. Sometimes I'm too comfortable for that. If it is limiting, if it is keeping you from the fullest expression of who you are, if it is rooted in validation, if it is rooted in fear, it is ego. So let's get into this quiz so you can understand where you are showing up. Are you being your truest self, or are you performing for the gram? What are you doing? All right, let's see what we got here. Quiz time. Are you leading from ego or essence? All right. So I seek validation from others. So this one, I listen to the scoring on this one because it's a little different. All right. I seek validation from others. If you do, then that is going to be a 1. If you don't resonate with this is going to be a 5, because the 5 is saying that you are more essence led. Okay. All right. So the scale is 1 is more ego, 5 is essence, not necessarily agree, disagree. Okay. All right. All right. The second one, I feel pressure to maintain an image. Do you feel like you have to keep up with the Joneses? What is it? If it's 1 means you do, and 5 is like, nah, I'm good. I do me. All right. The third question, prompt. I make decisions based on alignment. So if we say, no, I don't do that. I make decisions based off of validation or appearance, you're going to be a 1. But if this does ring true for you, you're more essence led, you're going to do 5, somewhere on the scale. All right. You know it better than I do. All right. Fourth one, I trust my inner voice. And I want to make a distinction. If you are like, well, maybe the inner voice is the ego spark video, girl, then make sure you go back and look at earlier classes where we talk about the voice that you hear is not your own. Okay? Because this will help you to understand and to discern your inner voice versus your ego voice. Okay? So if you're having a hard time with that one, you can come back to it. If you're not sure, make it a 3. Right? If you don't know if it's your inner voice or your ego voice, you don't know what voice you're hearing, put like a 3. Okay? All right. And the last one is, I feel at peace being myself. Ooh, I'm like a 16 on that one. I'm like way past the scale on that one. I love being me. It's fun. I like it. I love it a lot. All right, so add them up. I'm going to get some added up music or something so that you guys can add up your scores for the quiz. All right. Add them up. There goes my A+ student. I am grateful for my growth in this area of my life, knowing I struggled with anxiety. Well, bless you, because that is something. Because that is your ego. And see, it's not bolsterous, right? It has anxiety. That's the what your essence, the essence of who you are is. What are you? They're like, what is wrong with you? They're looking at ego like, are you okay? We are free. Ego's like, no. Sorry. I'm sorry. All right, y'all. Let's get into this. This was probably going to be a shorter show today. I'm not used to this. Oh, but actually I am. I do want to share something. That's right. I did have an extra thing I wanted to share before we get to the homework. There is something that I want to share. I have been reading a book it's called Leadership and Self-Deception. Okay, this is my second time, maybe third time. I'm listening to the book, but this is a book that helped me understand. This is kind of like ego. Helps you understand ego in a very complex way. I will say. It's a book. It's told as a narrative, kind of, but it is very it's showing and demonstrating how you quote unquote get out the box, right? And being in the box is technically living in your ego self. And when you are living in your ego self, based on what the book is talking about, you do things like, okay, here you go. You inflate others' faults. That's ego. Because you need to, who you are, who you have been programmed and how you conditioned to be, has to stand up. So you will inflate others' faults in order to maintain your ego. Okay? You will inflate your own virtue. This is where the ego gets that boisterous reputation from. Because in the box, when you are living from your ego, you're going to inflate your own virtue. You're going to talk. See, and when you're walking in your essence, you don't have to say, I am walking in my essence. Now, I will tell you I'm the queen, okay? But you don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Whereas ego is going to inflate, especially in conflict. It's going to let you know I do nothing wrong. Oh, I'm the one who did this, and I'm the one who did that, because your ego is trying to maintain the image that you have created for yourself, that you have created yourself to be. It is not truly who you are, but it's who you have created yourself to be. And because you have to hold on to that for comfort, right? You don't humble yourself to learn and grow and stretch. If you're wrong, to say, you know what, examine yourself, not for the other person, because it allows you to grow. So that's part of what they do. I don't know. Sometimes, thank you, sis. When I go off like that, I don't know what I'm saying. So don't ask me to repeat anything I just said. Go back and watch it again, because I want to watch it again, because I want to know what I just said. All right. And then another way that you can get out of the box is to inflate the value of anything that justifies your behavior. Right. So you're going to collect evidence. You're going to provide evidence for the things that support the thing that you are presenting about whatever it is, whatever image is that you're upholding, that the ego has to uphold. You're going to continue to collect evidence that's going to validate that, because again, ego seeks validation. Hello. And then lastly, we blame. You blame. It's everybody else's fault, right? That's still in the to me. So that's part of that diagram again. If you look at it, it's part of the diagram again. It's in that to me part. You get in that to me. You start blaming everybody because, Whose responsibility is it? Responsibility. You see? You blame people. That's the ego. So when you stop blaming, right, when you start to take responsibility, yeah, then you can, and that's how the ego grows sometimes. So the ego can be, and that is the evolution. So really pay attention, because I know where I'm in this thing. This is a cycle. Okay, you get to a point you realize, wow, I was really still operating in very much in my ego right there, because I needed to be right. We talk about, oh, well, you guys didn't get that, but make sure you check out Pronoia, because they got the 6 human needs in the first Monday of the month. And this is where those types of things, the ego self has created those conditions based on the needs they feel they need in order to survive, to be who they are. Okay, so take a look at that when you get a chance. But that's that. And again, all of these diagrams are in this lovely book. So if you don't have it, make sure you grab a copy of it. It's on Amazon, Books a Million, Barnes and Nobles, and anywhere that books are sold. And I will be recording a audiobook soon, in the very near future. All right, that's what we're going to be doing. So I hope that gives you a little bit more insight into today's topic of ego versus essence, and that there's a greater understanding and greater respect for the ego. Okay, let's be clear. Let's put some respect on it, because it is part of you. So if you don't understand the ego, put some respect on the ego and understand see the ego. See the ego self, because that's seeing yourself. If you can't see the ego self, you will have a hard time in growth, because you'll be standing in your own way. You'll be looking at yourself, lying to yourself. Oh my goodness. You'll be looking at yourself, lying to yourself, if you don't understand where your ego is. If you fail to recognize your ego on this journey of aligning with your authentic self and self-mastery. You gotta, in essence, check the ego. Say, hey, ego, I see you. You can't check the ego if you don't see it. I see you. Again, inner child, I see you. So now listen, okay? So if you want to look at it like this, we got an ego, we got an inner child. We got all these things going on the inside. You got to bring them all to the table to get out all of this aligned if you want to be, if you really want that growth to happen. Because all of these things become who you are on the journey, you know what I'm saying? In remembering who you are, they have pieces. Because guess what? As you went along on the journey, they took some of those pieces that may have been traumatic, and they took it in, especially the inner child. You probably got a whole bunch of stuff under the bed that need to come out. Okay. So we got to bring all of these things, these pieces of us to the table. I call it a boardroom experience. And the essence of who you are, the remembrance of who you are, takes hold and handles with care the ego and the inner child, bringing them back to life, saying, hey, guys, look, this is who we are. This is who we are. We are this. This is who we are. You get them and you get the ego and you get the inner child in alignment. Now you walk in alignment with yourself. Who gonna be against you when you got your inner child and your ego all walking in alignment in the truest essence of who you are? It's possible. You can do it. Only you can do it. It is the work that you have to do, because the work is you. You have to do the work and keep the faith to align with your authentic self. So let me give you the homework, because I did. Don't forget. Don't think you don't have homework. Don't think that you don't have homework. Because all we do is work. Do self-work, okay? So this week's Podclass homework is, who am I? without roles, without titles, without expectations. So this week really is a good reinforcement for anyone who participated in the Making Visions Visible program, because we did authenticity statements there. And this here, the authenticity statement, oh my God, I don't even, the authenticity statements are what we're talking about here. So if you know anything about the authenticity statement, you can use that for your homework. Okay, your homework is done, but I want you to write it down. I want you to remember it. I want you to recall it and to say it again, especially if you did it during the activity. Revisit it. Are you using it? Are you walking in it, or did you just do it and walk away from it? Did you forget who you were that quick? You forgot that quick? Who you were? You just left it? You got downloaded who you were and you left it? You remembered who you were and you forgot? Stop playing with yourself. Who are you? Who am I without roles, titles, and expectations? All right? That is it. And I want to close this week out by saying, what's this? Oh, we got a gratitude moment. I did forget about that. Today, we are grateful for the truth of who I am. And that's really what I was going to say. I want to close out today saying that I am truly grateful for how I was created, for who I am, for the authority that I have been given over my life. The truth of my being is eternal. And I am grateful for who I am. That is who I am. I am grateful for that. All of the other things are part of the experience that I get to have here on planet Earth. Okay? Y'all know I'm an alien. I told you I'm not from this place. I am having a good time now that I know the truth of my being. I know who I am. And the authority that I have over my life. Self-mastery. I had someone tell me, and I've said this all the time, but they just met me. So I had somebody tell me that. They were like, I said to them, they said, what are you doing today? I get to curate my day. And they said, oh my God, that's dope. And I just said it. They was like, that's dope. You get to curate your day. That means you get to do what you want to do. You have freedom. And I said, that's exactly what I say all the time. He said, that is true freedom. And I said, you are absolutely correct. And it's not about anything that I have monetarily. It is about nothing that no. It is because of the authority that I have over my life. I know who I am. And I walk in the essence of who I am. And that is a sovereign being in the world. I don't understand. I am free. And that is something that all of us can achieve. The ability to say who you are, reclaim your right. That one I love you guys. So I'm glad, because this one hits home for me on my journey. The ego is a constant. They constantly show up. They're a little more nagging than the inner child. You know, the inner child, once you kind of get the inner child in line, they'll walk with you. But that ego boy, sometimes, because that ego has learned to survive through things. You know, that ego is almost like a warrior. That ego wants to fight, versus where the inner child sometimes wants to just hide. So the inner child is okay once you make it feel comfortable. But that ego sometimes has a hard time letting go of some of them things. Ego be like, all right, that's cool. But can they still just tell us how flowery is? Because we need that. No, you don't need it. No, you don't need ego. So yes, that's it. But I'm excited. I'm grateful that you guys have stick with me for this particular episode of introducing the podcast. Again, just a reminder, we will not be here next week. Your girl will not be here next week because it is my birthday and I will be celebrating, okay, my birthday because I love me. And I appreciate everybody who will send me early birthday wishes, early birthday gifts, because I've already received so many blessings. I don't know what else I can receive, but I am in a receptive mode. So whatever it is that you place upon your heart to bless thee with, thank you. I thank you in advance. And with that being said, I will see you guys back in 2 weeks. Okay, so 2 weeks. This is like spring break for y'all. Spring break. All right. That being said, I love you guys. And I will see you soon. Peace out.